So what was the reason why we washed the residue? Just to remove the sodium nitrate from the silver chloride. Because the silver nitrate is soluble, so when we add water, any silver nitrate is there on sorry, to remove trace of sodium chloride, sodium nitrate. So if any trace of sodium nitrate is there on silver chloride, so when we wash, all the sodium nitrate will dissolve and it added to a reaction mixture. Then give the name of the two processes which occur in step 3. So in step 3, what we are doing? So first thing, what we do, we evaporate and then we crystallize. Yeah, heating is done. Heating is right. Heating is acceptable or evaporating, because we want to obtain a soluble. As you can see, what is step 3? Student obtain sodium nitrate crystals from a filtrate. So heating and evaporation is one thing. And then the second is crystallization. And after crystallization, there will be filtration, but they only ask for 2 steps. So what are the 2 steps? First, we evaporate, we heat and concentrate the solution. Like we will have a solution of sodium nitrate. So when we supply the heat energy, the sodium nitrate will evaporate, the solvent will evaporate, that is the water. And then there will be a crystal. When we cool down, the crystal of sodium nitrate will start to form. And then after that, we'll use a filtration. So filtration is the third step. The first 2 steps, evaporation and crystallization. In question 13, what is meant by the term electrolysis? As I mentioned, try to learn these definitions. So what is the definition of electrolysis? Breaking down of ionic compound in molten or aqueous state by passing the current. So breaking down the ionic compound, you have to mention ionic compound, because ionic compound can conduct electricity in molten or aqueous state by passing the electricity or current through it. Then we name the product of electrolysis when we are doing electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride. So if we are doing electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride, it contains sodium ion, it contains chloride ion, it contains hydrogen ion, and it contains hydroxide ion. So we'll have 2 electrodes. One is cathode, another one is anode. Or anode and cathode will be there, the 2 electrodes. For positive ion, we always check the reactivity. So ion which is less reactive will move. So hydrogen ion will move towards the cathode because it is less reactive. So one of the product will be hydrogen. Some of the students write like bubbles are seen. If the question was what is observed, then the bubble is acceptable. But because they're asking name the product, so you should be specific. You have to mention the name of the product. So bubbles, writing only bubbles will not give you mark. You have to specify the name of the product. So hydrogen is there. Then it is a concentrated. For negative ion, we check the amount. The ion which is more in the solution will move, such as like chloride is more. As you can see, it is concentrated. So the chloride will move. When chloride ion will move there, what we'll observe? We'll observe a chlorine gas. And what about, so hydrogen is removed, chlorine is removed. So what we are left with in the solution, we are left with sodium NaOH, which is known as sodium hydroxide. So the 3 products which occur during the electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride, which is also known as a brine, is one is hydrogen, which will move, which is obtained at cathode. Another one is chloride at anode, and the solution will turn into sodium hydroxide. Then write ionic half equation for cathode. So which ion is moving towards cathode? Hydrogen is moving. So when one hydrogen ion is there, it will take one electron and it will form hydrogen atom. When two hydrogen ions are there, because hydrogen is a non-metal, it will take two electrons. As a result, it will produce hydrogen gas. Then what is meant by the term base? Base means proton acceptor. Some of the students, they write metal oxide, but that is not the definition of base. The correct definition of the base, the standard definition, is a proton acceptor. So whenever a question is there that define the term base, you should always write proton acceptor. Metal oxide, metal hydroxide are also bases, but the definition of a base is a proton acceptor. Then we have to write a word equation to show ammonia behave as a base. So how we can mention that ammonia is acting or behaving like a base, which is a proton acceptor? So basically a reaction of ammonia you have to write. So if we have ammonia look, if we want to define or explain something is a base, so it should accept proton. So example, if I write, we have to write a word equation, but first I'll write a symbolic equation to explain. Like we have NH3, which is ammonia, okay, and it reacted with HCl. So as a result, what will happen? Ammonia will accept proton. When it will take proton, what it will become? It will become ammonium ion and a chloride ion. So as you can see here clearly from this equation, that ammonia, which is NH3, accept proton from hydrochloric acid, form ammonium ion and chloride ion. So we have to just write in word, and ammonia is accepting a proton, taking a proton. That's why we call ammonia as a base. So here ammonia plus hydrogen chloride or hydrochloric acid. So ammonia plus hydrochloric acid, when ammonia will accept proton, what it will form? It will form ammonium this NH4 is called ammonium ion and plus the chloride ion. So we have to write a word equation for this change. Then another question is related to calculation part. We have to calculate the bond breaking energy, the bond forming energy. So the bond breaking energy and NH bonds are, because reactant side is always the bond breaking side and the product side is the bond forming. So NH bonds, which we are breaking, how many of them? 1, 2, 3 in one molecule. But there are total 2 molecules. So we are breaking 6 NH bonds and we are breaking 3 Cl single bonds. And we have to substitute here. So 6 into 390 plus 3 into chlorine 240. That will give us the bond breaking energy, the reactant side, which will come out as 3060. So this will be 3060. Bond forming energy, there's a nitrogen triple bond plus 6 HCl bonds are there, hydrogen chloride. Nitrogen triple bond 945 plus 6 HCl bonds are there. So 430. So when we multiply them, we'll get the bond forming energy, which is 3525. So 3525. Then the energy change, bond breaking minus bond forming. So 3060 minus 3525. So this will give us the negative answer. The bond breaking minus bond forming, which is, yeah, you should mention the steps. You should actually, getting the final answer is having a mark, but better write the steps as well. Getting a correct value is having a mark. So when we subtract them, we'll get the energy change. And in this is the reaction exothermic or endothermic? So you will say this is an exothermic reaction because the bond forming energy is more than bond breaking energy. And how much is this value? The energy change 3060 minus 3525. This will be the energy change during a reaction. Minus 465 kilojoule per mole. So in the question they ask why this, you will mention this is exothermic reaction, but don't mention because the sign is negative. Some student write that because sign is negative, so it is exothermic. That is not the reason. The reason is because bond forming energy is more than bond breaking energy. So you have to justify this answer by a valid reason. You will say bond forming is more than bond breaking. That's why it is exothermic.